Hello everyone, this is Uncle Yeow. Now today is Singapore's birthday, which means it's actually every one of us, it is our birthday. Today is significant because we celebrate SG 60, 60 very successful years since our independence on the 9th of August 1965. Now it is important on this day that we take stock of what happened right from the very beginning. So I'm going to delve a bit into the history from 1965. Now, if you remember, on the 9th of August 1965, Tengku Abdul Rahman, the first Prime Minister of Malaysia, announced that Singapore, you are too troublesome, therefore you have to leave Singapore. What it meant was that Singapore was actually forced out of the Federation of Malaysia. Now, why did this happen? Well, because at the time, Singapore, our leadership under Prime Minister, our founding Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew, what we wanted, what we were pitching for was actually a Malaysian Malaysia, where all Malaysians are equal, regardless of race, language, religion. But the leaders across the causeway, what they wanted was a Malay Malaysia, where Malays have got special rights, even today. Now that caused a lot of unhappiness, especially for Singaporeans. So this resulted in a lot of quarrel and squabble, resulting in 1964 race riots between the Malays and the Chinese in Singapore. Many people died. At the end, it crossed over to Malaysia. So by 1965, 9 August, the Tengku announced that Singapore will be forced out of Malaysia. Our ties will be severed. Now, if you remember at that time I was in primary 5. I still remember seeing Lee Kuan Yew going on TV to announce separation. And he cried publicly for the first time. Why? Because at the back of his mind, he was wondering, how could we survive with no natural resources, no water, no hinterland? But at the end of it all, he said one thing. He said, Singapore, we will survive. Now, not only did we survive, we thrived and we became very, very successful over the years. So much so that today Singapore is known as an economic miracle. Never before in the history of mankind has a country managed to transform itself from a third world backwater into a thriving first world economy, metropolis, city-state, garden in a city. So this is what has happened over the last 60 years. But it is important. The journey was not easy. It was an arduous journey with many, many crises that we had to overcome. But overcame we did. Now, what were some of the things? Let's look at it. In fact, you can say that this is actually the start of the Singapore story. And the man who has started the first chapter of the Singapore story is none other than Lee Kuan Yew. So what happened? In 1965, when we first became independent, there were many challenges for the tiny state of Singapore. All right, we were void of resources, no water, no hinterland. Four major issues that we had to overcome. Number one, housing for Singaporeans. Housing at that time was extremely poor. People stay in wooden shacks, some 2 or 3 in a tents in a room, no water, no electricity, no toilet. That was the situation. Number two was our defense. At the time, our defense was in tatters. Alright, we only had got 2 battalion, 1 SIR, 2 SIR. And neighbors at that time were not exactly friendly. So we have to quickly start up our defense, the SAF, Singapore Armed Forces. Number 3 was our economy, because we know after we became independent in 1965, the British will withdraw. And the British actually announced earlier withdrawal by 1971. So at the time, we only had got 2 battalion, 1 SIR, 2 SIR. So we had to quickly build up our defense. And in 1967, we started national service to beef up the SAF. Then, third, the economy. When the British left, 20% of the economy followed them home. So we were left with huge unemployment, up to 14%. So we had to quickly start up and revive the economy. And what we did was, we started Jurong as the first industrial estate, invite MNCs, foreign companies to come and invest, build factories, create jobs. That's how we got the economy going. And of course, last but not least, there were many societal issues that we had to overcome. Alright, and how do we solve these societal issues? Because now people have to go and live high-rise, attitudes and behaviors and habits have got to change. So we run a series of public education campaigns to win over the public and to get them to change their old habits and behavior. So this, in short, was what happened during the early years. Now, in the words of Professor Kishore Mahbubani, when asked what is the secret of success for Singapore, he mentioned 3 things, the acronym M, P, and H. M stands for meritocracy, P stands for pragmatism, and H stands for honesty, which is actually incorruptibility. Now what he said, to me, of the 3, the most important would be incorruptibility. Because once the system is corrupt, it is like cancer. It will be very cancerous. It will spread very quickly. And very soon, the whole system will just break down and collapse. So incorruptibility will be number 1. Number 2 would be meritocracy. That means the right and the best person for the best jobs. So this is the only way that everybody can actually move up the mobility ladder at their own pace, own talent, own hard work. So everybody will be given the same starting line with equal chances. And then last but not least, pragmatism. Now what is pragmatism? Pragmatism means we don't hang on to old sacred cows. Alright, there are no sacred cows, and we don't hold on to political ideology. What works, we will do. If it doesn't work, we will change and we will move on, change direction. That's what pragmatism is all about. So these are, I think, the basic ingredients for our success. So after 4 generations of leaders, starting from founding Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew and the Pioneer Generation Leader team. Next, we had second generation under Mr. Goh Chok Tong as Prime Minister, and then followed by Mr. Lee Hsien Loong, which is the Prime Minister for 20 years, since 2004 until 2024. Alright, 20 years. That's the third generation. And then now, we have Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, who is now leading the 4G team leadership. Alright. Now the 4G, in many ways, has been tested because we have gone through COVID-19 very successfully. We overcame all the odds and emerged more resilient, and our economy rebounded very quickly. So we have actually got a lot of confidence in the 4G team, and this is reflected in the recent general election, where the 4G team actually won a landslide victory of 66%, which is quite comforting. Alright. So, gentlemen, this is what we have gone through over the years. Now, Singapore, there are many things to be proud of. Singapore has achieved many firsts. Number one, our public housing is the world's best. If you look at our public housing, we have the most iconic public housing in Pinnacle at Duxton, 50-story high. Now, this public housing is the highest and tallest in the world, with a lot of sky gardens. Now, Singapore today, we have built more than 1 million homes, HDB homes. All right. In Singapore, everyone can own a home. All right. The moment you have an income of 1,500 and above, you'll be able to get a HDB flat. So more than 85% of Singaporeans actually live in HDB flats, and out of the 85%, 95% of them actually buy their own flats, which means they own, they don't rent. So this is significant, and is way ahead of any other country in the world in terms of home ownership. So this is something we can be proud of. Number two, some of the major infrastructure that has been built over the years. One of the most iconic is actually Changi Airport. All right. Now a decision was taken to move Changi Airport from Paya Lebar International Airport to Changi. That was a major decision, and it was the right decision, because today Changi Airport is now one of the leading air hub in the world. And not only that, we are prepared very soon with the building of Terminal 5. Changi Airport will continue to be one of the largest airports in the world. All right. And Changi Airport has been voted year in and out as the best airport in the world. Next is our Sea Hub. So once we have covered Air Hub, now Sea Hub. Singapore is the largest transshipment port in the world. And now we are embarking on what is called Tuas Megaport. All right, we are moving the port to Tuas. So, with the moving of the port to Tuas, by the time it's completed, Singapore will remain the world's largest transshipment port in the world. So this is what it is all about. If you look at the Tuas port, all right, it is very big. And then next, Singapore, we are known for many things. In fact, Singapore, if you think about it, it is one country where we managed to convert our disadvantages into our advantages. We managed to convert crisis into opportunities. Now, Singapore, if you look right from the beginning, we don't produce one single drop of oil. But we started oil refining. And today, the oil refinery in Jurong Island, the oil refinery, all right, in Jurong Island, the oil and gas is one of the largest in the world. We also have got LNG storage hub in Jurong. In terms of storage, in terms of trading, it is also one of the largest in the world. So this has actually put us in good stead in our quest for energy. That's why you find that in Singapore, we are able to mitigate energy prices, even though we don't produce one drop of oil, one drop of gas. All right. So this is something we can be very proud of as Singaporeans going forward. Now, some of the things which most people do not know. For example, in terms of defense, our first Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew actually gave the SAF a very important military doctrine known as the poison shrimp strategy. All right. So what did he say? He said, We are like a small stream. We are surrounded by big fishes. They all want to gobble us up at any time. So in order to protect ourselves, we have to make ourselves to be very, very poisonous. And to do that, we must arm ourselves to the teeth. All right? In terms of defense spending, in terms of weapon system management, training, even NS. So all these put together, we are actually a force to be reckoned with. Singapore, though small, we punch way above our weight. So in the region, in Southeast Asia, our military is actually extremely strong and capable. So this is our defense strategy. And of course, as we move on from SG60 to SG100, by the time SG100 comes along, Uncle Yeow, I will not be here. But I'm confident with what has happened till now, until SG60, that we will make it to SG100. Now, it is important for each and every one of us to pull in the same direction. Make sure we have the can-do spirit, never say die attitude of the pioneer and Merdeka generations, and then continue to forge alliances worldwide, and also to make sure we build on the resilience that we have over the years. Now, by doing all this, you can be sure we will be able to ride the tide come what may and be successful all the way to SG100. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to wish everyone a very happy SG60 National Day. All the best and have a good holiday. Thank you.